السلام عليكم. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. In the last session, we discussed how a person may learn his faith through the family and the environment he was born and raised with, and just copy them, or choose a faith he came across based on curiosity and research. Plus, how one can reach the truth by thinking, understanding, and contemplation. Be that as it may, why is it people are not close to God or even think of Him? Or why do they not fear His punishment? Why is it that people don't dedicate part of their day to remember God or truly think about Him? In today's session, we will attempt to address these questions. However, in order to do so, we must understand when it comes to God, spirituality, belief, and Aqeeda, people use different methods to reach them. There are generally 4 different methods that puts people in 4 different groups, depending on where they are with their belief and in what level and how they gained it. Once we recognize each group, then the answers to above questions become clear. First group consists of those who basically do not follow any path or belief. Religious matters like belief in God and afterlife are not important to them at all. Every day, from the moment they wake up in the morning until they go back to bed at night, they think of nothing except food, a place to live, work, degree, the weekend, and similar things. Totally preoccupied with daily near-term things. This type of people have put God, the last day, worship, and religious belief completely out of their mind. If you were to even mention God or anything related to religion, they would look at you like you have a disease and may even tell you, "Get away from me." Each of us has certainly come across people like that. You see them pretty much everywhere. Quran warns the believers about this type of people as follows. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. O you who believe, fear Allah, observe your duty to Allah, and let every soul look to what provision He has sent forth for the future, and observe your duty to Allah. Indeed, Allah is aware of what you do. Do not be like those who forgot about Allah. Do not be like those who forgot about Allah. He will make them forget their own souls or themselves. These are the transgressors. Chapter 59, verses 18 and 19. These are people that in their mind, belief does not even occur. They are only preoccupied with what surrounds them of this world. They have all the tools to reflect and think, yet they will not use them. وَلَقَدْ ذَرَأْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا أُولَئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ أُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. Many are the jinns and humans who we have made destined for hell. They have hearts with which they cannot understand, eyes with which they do not see, and ears with which they do not hear. They are like cattle. Rather, they are more misguided. Such are the heedless, the neglectful. Chapter 7, verse 179. Here, God compares them with cattle and says these people are even worse than cattle when it comes to using their senses for guidance. In other words, cattle may be better than them because they were not given the same intelligence. This is the first group, and unfortunately, there are many in this group. Second group are those for whom Iman, Aqeeda, and life after death are all important. They believe in them. They perform all acts of worship, like prayers, fasting, etc. And they try to stay on a path they think will take them to the paradise of their imagination. The main problem with this group is, while Iman and Aqeeda, belief, are important to them, throughout their whole life, from birth to death, they never really think about these things, reflect on them. And their view of them is what they learned and inherited from their parents and the environment they were raised in. If they are asked, what is your opinion on God, on resurrection day, Qiyamah, and so forth, they will give the same answer they got from their parents, forefathers. They will repeat what they heard from them. Allah Azza wa Jal describes a similar situation in the Quran. إِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُ مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقَلُونَ شَيْئًا وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. When it is said to them, follow what Allah has revealed, they say, no, we will follow the ways of our fathers. What? Even though their fathers were void of wisdom and guidance, even though they didn't have any guidance, they were misguided. Chapter 2, verse 170. Have they even thought about, okay, my dad, my mom said this, but let me study it a bit. Think about it a bit. Reflect on it and see what the Quran says about this Aqeedah. We all say we are Muslims and as such accept God's book, the Quran, as the last revelation of God, without any changes and distortions. True word of God. Did they even once ask themselves, does my Aqeedah match up in agreement to what is in the Quran? Does Quran confirm my belief? Before proceeding to third group, let's talk a bit more about this second group, especially since among believers this has become a common practice. In the last session called Muslims Because, we talked about this group whose Aqeedah is based on taqleed, not tahqiq. Whatever their forefather and the society did, they will repeat. We now examine a few excuses this group brings to justify their blind following of parents and others in the matter of belief and Aqeedah. An important and interesting thing to note here is the similarity of excuses this group brings today with those of the idolaters in Mecca or people of the past, which the Quran talks about. Before going into this section, I call your attention to the fact that Aqeedah, or belief, is something personal that the individual himself, herself, must think about and decide, not someone else decide for him or her. This also means not through taqleed, following of the parents and the society, but through tahqiq, study, using one's mind, intellect, and the Quranic studies so that He comes to certainty, yaqeen, in his Aqeeda, on his own, on his own. In fact, following others by taqleed, copying others' thoughts, cannot be cited as a reference in the day of accountability. I did so because my parent, my society, my clergy did so, or told me to do. By the way, in parentheses, please note, we're talking about matters of belief and Aqeeda here, not some fiqh issue or ruling by jurists. For those issues, as long as the fiqh, the faqih, the faqih or scholar presents a valid reason or citing for his fatwa, opinion, it can be accepted and followed. The problem happens when the faqih gives an opinion or fatwa without presenting a reference and reason for his ruling and just tells you to accept it and follow him. This is problematic. Anyway, the discussion here is about Aqeeda and belief, not fiqh, which Aqeeda and belief are far more important than issues in fiqh. Now, here are some of the excuses or rationale this group brings for their following or taqleed of others. Number one, when this group is recited the verses of the Quran and is told that Quran says such and such, they are asked to step forward and do their own research, at least on the verses of the Quran, so they understand, for example, what min dunillah, other than Allah, means. They reply and say, well, we're happy with what we have and are doing what our whole society is doing. In other words, we join the crowd. The crowd is doing this, so therefore we're doing it. If the society appeals to other than God for their needs, for their requests, then we do the same. They forget that Ibrahim alayhi salam was born and raised in such a society. He cleansed himself. He cleansed his Aqeeda from societal shirk, idolatrous and superstitious beliefs. Through what? Through using his intellect and deep thinking. In what? In signs of God. And you know the story about the sunrise and the sunset and his rationale to discard those as ilah, deity. Hence, Allah chose him and his offsprings as prophets. He became an icon in Tawheed, believing in oneness of God, the founder of all Abrahamic faiths, which are all monotheistic faiths. Just like this group, the second group, he could have just stayed within his comfort zone and followed his father and his society. Surely, such people who are happy and content with superstitions will not be guided. Fortunately, some members of this society, this group, have awakened and realized what was given to them as a set of beliefs or Aqeeda has some serious issues. Something wrong with the whole picture. You know, people are smart. They realize the real belief and the real Aqeeda is not something they are continuously hearing from the so-called Islamic republics, radio and TV, or even often in the member. Their form of belief that is propagated brings nothing but misery and depression to the society. However, the amazing thing is, even though most people of this group know this is not a real belief or an Aqeeda, that is not part of real Islam, they still continue their blind following, imitation, taqleed, and they do not pursue their own investigation for the true belief, true faith. Quran says, وإذا قيل لهم اتبعوا ما أنزل الله قالوا بل نتبع ما وجدنا عليه آباءنا أولو كان الشيطان يدعوهم إلى عذاب السعير. When it is said to them, follow what Allah has sent down, they reply, no, we shall follow the ways that we found our fathers following. What? Even though Shaitan is inviting them to the punishment of the fire? Chapter 31, verse 21. This verse says they want to blindly follow their forefathers even if what they did was inspired by Shaitan. Number two, the second excuse they bring when you invite them to the Quranic verses, this group will say, we do know that min dunillah, other than Allah, cannot create and cannot provide. Therefore, we're not asking the Prophet, the Anbiya, the Awliya, the Shuyukh, the Imams, or any of them, appealing to them to provide. We're not doing that. But we believe that these individuals who are close to Allah will cause Allah to accept our dua and request. These individuals, due to closeness to God, can affect God's affair or have a role or influence in His decisions. And that we will be safe and protected from difficulties because of these individuals and their influence on God. They further say, with their wasita, intermediation, we want Allah to accept our request, our dua. And the only reason for this is to get close to Allah. We just want to get close to Allah. And we're using them as wasita. They further add, we realize these individuals are not able to answer our prayers, our requests, but Allah will answer our request because of their intermediation. Because of their intermediation. By the way, there are those that do believe these individuals can fulfill their requests even though they are dead. But that is another topic. Here we're talking about those who do realize the dead cannot do anything. Here is what the Quran says about the reason mushrikeen, idolaters in Prophet's time, brought forth. ألا لله الدين الخالص والذين اتخذوا من دونه أولياء ما نعبدهم إلا ليقربونا إلى الله زلفى إن الله يحكم بينهم فيما هم فيه يختلفون إن الله لا يهدي من هو كاذب كفار. It is not that the pure religion, is it not that the pure religion belongs to Allah? It's a question. As for those who choose protectors, guardians, awliya, other than Him, and say, we only serve them so that they will bring us closer to Allah. Indeed, Allah will judge between them concerning their differences. Allah says they are different. Indeed, Allah does not guide he who is unthankful liar. Chapter 39, verse 3. Above verse presents the same rationale people use today. That was for back then, but the same rationale is used by people of this group today in order to justify what? Wasita, intermediation of dunillah, other than Allah. Surely, Allah has not permitted intermediation anywhere in the Quran. And what's being practiced today, which is nothing new, is a lie and falsely attributed to God. At the end of the verse, it says, indeed, Allah does not guide he who is an unthankful liar. In the next verse, Allah says, these min dunillah, other than Allah, that you are calling upon, they cannot do anything for you. And they themselves are indeed in need of Allah. قُلِ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُم مِّن دُونِهِ فَلَا يَمْلِكُونَ كَشْفَ الضُّرِّ عَنكُمْ وَلَا تَحْوِيلًا أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ يَبْتَغُونَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمُ الْوَسِيلَةَ أَيُّهُمْ أَقْرَبُ وَيَرْجُونَ رَحْمَتَهُ وَيَخَافُونَ عَذَابَهُ. Say, call to those whom you assert other than him, min dunillah. They have neither the power to remove your troubles nor to change them. I repeat, they have neither the power to remove your troubles nor to change them. Those they call upon are themselves seeking a wasila, to come to their Lord, competing with each other to be closer to him. They hope for his mercy and fear his punishment. Chapter 17, verses 56 through 57. They have no power, and they themselves seek to get closer to Allah. These min dunillah are the means or wasila you are trying to appeal to as intermediators, but they got no power of decision. Only Allah does. Little farther down, إن ينصركم الله فلا غالب لكم وإن يخذلكم فمن ذا الذي ينصركم من بعده وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. If Allah helps you, none can overcome you. And if he withdraws his help from you, who is there who can help you after him? In Allah, then, let believers put their trust. Chapter 3, verse 160. Furthermore, Quran asks, وَمَنْ أَذَلُّ مِمَّنْ يَدْعُو مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ مَنْ لَا يَسْتَجِيبُ لَهُ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ وَهُمْ عَنْ دُعَائِهِمْ غَافِلُونَ. Who is farther astray, lost, than he who calls upon other than Allah, these who will never answer him till the day of resurrection, who are indeed unconscious of their call, dua. Chapter 46, verse 5. Here the Quran explicitly says, these whom you put as wasita, intermediator, or you call upon in your dua, will never answer you. And they will never answer you. Never means till the day of judgment, because they are not aware or conscious of your dua, your call. They do not hear you. And Allah asks here in this verse, who is more lost, astray than these people? Verses of Quran are so crisp and clear that anyone who seeks the truth can easily understand them and use them to cleanse his life from shirk and superstition. God says in the Quran, "Ud'uni astajib lakum," meaning call on me, and I will answer. Call on me, and I will answer. He did not say, "Ud'una nabi astajib lakum," or "Ud'una salihin astajib lakum." Call on the prophet or call on the good doers, and I will answer. He didn't say that. He said, "Ud'uni astajib lakum." Call on me and I'll respond directly. I am close to you. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ الدَّعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. When my servants ask you about me, I am indeed close to them. I listen to their prayers, dua, of every suppliant when he calls on me. chapter 2, verse 186. How close is Allah to us? He tells us in the Quran, أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبَهُ. And know that Allah is in between a man and his heart, chapter 8, verse 24. Or, نَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. We are closer to him than his jugular veins, chapter 50, verse 16. Can he get any closer than this? In fact, Prophet ﷺ is told in the Quran explicitly and clearly to say that he is a man like you and I and cannot be an intermediator, wasita, and that people must appeal to God directly. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ أَنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ وَاسْتَغْفِرُوا. Say unto them, O Muhammad, I am only a human like you. It is revealed to me by inspiration, wahy, that your God is one God. So go directly to him and ask for his forgiveness. Chapter 41, verse 6. Stand true to him. You know, in this verse, few translations say, فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ means be steadfast for him or be straight with him. But that is not correct. If it said, فَاسْتَقِيمُوا لَهُ, then that would be true. That would be like, yes, be steadfast for him or be straight with him. But it says, فَاسْتَقِيمُوا إِلَيْهِ means go directly to him or go straight to him. You do not need a broker, an intermediator, or a wasita. I don't know how else Allah could have said it. When you have so many verses that say explicitly and implicitly, Allah is so close to us and we need to go straight and directly to him, not through others. Another aspect of this practice is that once this group goes through min dunillah, other than Allah, as mediators and ask for something, through them, once they receive it, they thank the who? Min dunillah, other than Allah, the mediator, which is even worse. Imagine you do someone a favor, and instead of thanking you and acknowledging you, he goes and thanks someone else. Number 3, another excuse or reason this group brings is that, we're such sinful people that we are unable to ask directly from God or make dua, supplication, directly, straight to him. We must then take an upright or a righteous person who is close to God as a mediator, wasita. Otherwise, God will not pay attention to us. He will not listen to us, and our dua will not ascend to him, will not reach him. Allah himself has answered this in the Quran. قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Say, O my servant who have sinned excessively against themselves, do not despair the mercy of Allah, Surely Allah forgives all sins. He is the forgiver and the most merciful. This means if you have big sins, Allah's mercy is even bigger. No one is more merciful, more compassionate than him. Hence, you must appeal to him directly, not to his servants. Plus, some people act as if God himself, by himself, is not enough, and they need to add others. Allah puts your mind at ease in the Quran. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ وَلِيًّا وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ نَصِيرًا. Allah is sufficient as a guardian, a protector, as a wali. And Allah suffices as a helper, as a supporter. Meaning, you don't need any guardian or helper other than God Himself. Chapter 4, verse 45. He then says, return to Him and submit to Him while you have time. وَأَنِيبُوا إِلَى رَبِّكُمْ وَأَسْلِمُوا لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَكُمُ الْعَذَابُ ثُمَّ لَا تُنْصَرُونَ. Turn to your Lord and surrender yourselves to Him before the punishment overtakes you, for then you will not be helped. Chapter 39, verses 53 and 54. In these two verses, Allah is addressing His servants. Even those of you who are so sinful that exceeded the limits, do not lose hope. The doors of His rahmah, mercy, are wide open. You do not need to ask anyone else for favor, no matter how close they might be to Allah. They cannot be more merciful than Allah. Even if you are drowned in sin or completely lost, وَأَنِيبُوا إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ. Turn to your Lord, your Rabb. Did not say turn to His close servants. People of this group might ask, why is asking Allah directly so important? What are you talking about? And what's the harm of going through a broker, an intermediator who is close to Him? The answer is, this is how shirk starts and how idolaters of Mecca and all those before them started. And before long, they were worshiping them. They were doing for them what they're supposed to do for Allah. This principle of going to Him directly is so important that Allah puts the acknowledgement of it, that we worship Him only and ask for His help only, in a chapter of the Quran that is the summary of the entire Quran, which is chapter 1, and then puts it in the verse that is the heart of this chapter, and in fact, heart of the whole Quran. In other words, we could say the whole Quran was revealed for the purpose of this one verse. What verse is this? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Chapter 1, verse 5. The term إِيَّاكَ here, we have talked about Surah Al-Hamd before. I don't want to go into it too deep, but the term إِيَّاكَ emphasizes the meaning only you, or you alone, or nothing but you. That's what إِيَّاكَ means. After إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, you alone we worship, it says إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, means you alone we ask for help. In what? In worshiping you and in all other affairs, appeals, dua, everything. You alone we rely on. This acknowledgement is so important for us that Allah told us to repeat it every day as a reminder in our salat prayer, whether it's wajib or mustahab, the obligatory or optional, and multiple times a day. The question to this group then becomes, who are you reciting this verse for? And do you know what you're saying when you recite this? And, we should remember some members of this group even try to impose their Aqeeda and opinion on the Quran by misinterpreting it to fit their own inherited Aqeeda. At the end, all this group needs is to decide to have the right belief and Aqeeda and get rid of all the wrong or deviated aspects of their Aqeeda, which is tainted with shirk and superstitions. Some people who fully understand this lecture might be shaken when they hear it, because these thoughts and beliefs I mentioned have been deeply rooted in their Aqeeda. They grew up with them. Often it is easier for young people to purge or set aside such superstitions and shirk from their belief system. However, it is much harder for older folks because they have been raised with these ideologies and been practicing them all their lives. These beliefs are as dear to them as their own child, if not more. Among this group, a courageous person is the one who, when encountered with such clear, explicit, and decisive verses of the Quran regarding these matters, he will say that they are proof enough for him, no more excuses, and is courageously willing to slaughter or sacrifice his wrong and superstitious beliefs that may be so dear to him, just as Ibrahim alayhi salam was willing to slaughter his son for the sake of God. Now we move on to the third group. The members of this group are those who similarly have Aqeeda, belief in God, belief in afterlife, etc. However, they tend to do a lot of study when it comes to the unseen, ghaib, things like death, ruh, life after death. The problem with this group is they follow their guesses and imagination as they continuously look for answers in things like philosophy, irfan, mysticism, and science when it comes to the unseen, ghaib, like ruh, life after death, etc. Whereas these concepts have been introduced to man only and only through holy books and revelations, not through books of science and philosophy authored by humans. Imagine if Allah did not talk about the resurrection day, Qiyamah, or angels, or jinn, how could man find out about them? Regarding the metaphysical world, Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَالِمُ غَيْبَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. Indeed, Allah is the knower of the unseen, ghaib, in the heavens and the earth. Indeed, He is aware of the secret in man's heart. Chapter 35, verse 38. In another verse, Allah says it differently and says, in fact, He's the only one that knows all the unseen. قُلْ لَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ الْغَيْبَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ أَيَّانَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Say, O Muhammad, none in the heavens and the earth knows the unseen, ghaib, except Allah, and nor do they know when they will be raised again, referring to Qiyamah, chapter 27, verse 65. Therefore, we conclude, knowledge of the unseen, like the angel, ruh, Qiyamah, and jinn, etc., etc., are introduced to man only through revelations and the holy books. And we only know about them as much as Allah wanted us to know. Any attempt to find out more with the tools we humans have at our disposals is futile. Any school of philosophy, science, or mysticism that attempts to do so is nothing but figment of man's imagination and guesswork. While Allah Himself says this knowledge is transferred to man only through revelations from God, and only as much as we need to know. In regard to following any of those people with conjectures and guessworks, Allah says in the Quran, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنْ هُمْ إِلَّا يَخْرُصُونَ. If you follow most of those on earth, they would lead you astray from the path of Allah. They follow only conjectures and guessworks. Chapter 6, verse 116. And certainly when it comes to unseen, following a certain people's opinion or man-made schools of thought are nothing but man's conjecture and guesswork. Moving on to the fourth group. Fourth group are those who have sound Aqeeda and belief in religious aspects and matters such as God, life after death, Qiyamah, Ruh, the unseen, etc. All of those are important to them, and they have reached those conclusions through research and study. They continuously think about these matters of belief and reflect on them. Regarding the unseen, ghaib, they only accept that which is given in the Quran, which is their only reference when it comes to these matters. They think so highly of such beliefs that they seek them and study them themselves and not wait for someone else to tell them. They accept the fact there are no words above God's words. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes such believers in the Quran. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. Those who believe in the unseen, ghaib, and establish prayer and spend out of what we have provided for them, and who believe in that which is revealed unto you, O Muhammad, and that which was revealed before you, and they are sure of the life hereafter. They are sure of the life hereafter. These are guided by their Lord, and these are the successful. Chapter 2, verses 3 through 5. May Allah make us among them. Today, majority of people think that they have chosen the best goal in life and the path to reach it, and blindly insist on it. As such, they are prejudiced, biased to it, and remain unaware and blind to other views because they think the best and highest Aqeeda, belief and ideology is theirs, and they do not need to hear the others. Hence, if there is a belief or Aqeeda that brings about success, peace, and happiness to them, they turn their back on it. They refuse to consider it because they think their own belief is superior to others. In order for us to find out if we have the best Aqeeda and belief and the best goal and path in life, we must open our eyes and ears and without any bias listen to what others have to offer. Quran encourages such people. فَبَشِّرْ عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ هَدَاهُمُ اللَّهُ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. So give the good news to my servants, those who listen to the word and follow the best thereof. Those are the ones whom Allah has guided, and those are the ones endowed with understanding, knowledge. Chapter 39, verse 17 and 18. The best plan, a plan with a goal, is the one offered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. not the one man has offered to man. Why? Because one human, just like any other human, has no knowledge at birth, but from birth to adulthood gains some limited knowledge and experience, and eventually dies. Therefore, any philosophy in life he believes in and implements is born out of his own mind and imagination. At best, his philosophy in life may be adequate for this life, but for sure will not be adequate for the next life and hereafter. All man's efforts are to achieve a peaceful and successful life in this world, which is limited to what? To about 80 years on the average. Religion's main goal is not just to provide such peaceful and happy life in this world, but also draw man's attention to an everlasting, blissful, successful, and peaceful life that could follow in the next life for him. Now, the question is, which one of the above four groups has the most value? Each and every one of us need to think about which group we fall into and why, and based on what grounds. We end with the following verse. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ سَبِيلًا إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. Indeed, we created man from a drop of mingled sperm in order to test him. Therefore, we gave him the gifts of hearing and sight. We showed him the way. Whether he be grateful or ungrateful rests on his decision. Chapter 76, verses 2 and 3. We ask Allah to help us learn our deen. We ask Allah help us serve Him the way it pleases Him, the way accepted by Him. We ask Allah to guide us and make us among those who have certainty, yaqeen, in our belief, Aqeeda, and among the successful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamu ala man ittaba al huda.